I know you have a lot of questions about Idalia. I know we have. We've been popping in the Weather Center all day going, Tim, what about this? What about that? And of course, he's been here 42 years predicting hurricanes, so it's good to have him here. He's here for you as well. So let's ask Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan a couple of questions. How bad could the tornadoes be tomorrow? What about roofs and trees?
Well, certainly, as you know, Jeannie, any tornado can be bad, but we expect these to be more like the EF0 to EF1, so can be dangerous, might be some structural damage, but our biggest concern is it would bring down trees and increase the power outages around the area.
Well, I hear people ask Tim, is it safe to stay in my mobile home? And it matters when your mobile home was built, right?
You're exactly right. So we're not just talking about the fact, well, it's new, like a new car or whatever. Actually, there were very definitive upgrades in the codes. That is, mobile homes that say within the last 3 years, or 30 years, in the last 30 years, they had to be built to withstand Category 1 conditions. So any mobile home built before then, not only is it older, it wasn't built to withstand Category 1 conditions. And so that's why we really would like to see those people, especially for those of you under the hurricane warnings in Florida, in Georgia. If you're in an older mobile home, try to find a safer place.
And what about all the folks who live in our beaches area? Do they need to worry about Idalia?
For the beaches of northeastern Florida, you do not have to worry about Idalia any more than the rest of us. I know it sounds unusual, but remember, Idalia is in the Gulf of Mexico. That's where the catastrophic storm surge will be. Now, notice there's a bit of an if in my voice because the southeast winds will be strong enough for the beaches areas, the islands of southeastern Georgia, to have a surge of about 4 feet. As long as it stays below 4 feet, it won't be major flooding, but we will keep a close watch on the islands of southeast Georgia.
Well, thanks, Tim. I know you've got lots to tell us as well, so please go ahead and fill us in with what's the latest.
Absolutely. Thank you for the questions, Jeannie. Thanks, everyone, for the questions. As you can imagine, on the weather team, there's a lot going on in the noggin, and it actually helps us to have questions because it helps us to focus on just what you're wondering about. So any way you can, send us those questions. There's no such thing as too specific of a question because we've learned through the decades that if you're wondering it, more like 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000 people are wondering the same thing. So whatever you're wondering, let us know and we will definitely talk about it. Well, about as definite as we can be with weather, this hurricane is going to be a major hurricane. It's going to head to the north. The catastrophic storm surge of maybe 15 feet. Again, we'll be on the Gulf Coast, so relatively speaking for us, that's some good news. For those of you that know the Gulf Coast, maybe have some interest out there, maybe have some friends. Cedar Key and Steinhatchee will be hit hard, but it looks like areas actually up the coast, more toward Appalachia Bay, are going to get it a little bit worse. But still, Steinhatchee and Cedar Key, I would suspect, are still going to get about a 6 to 8, maybe 10-foot storm surge. And then notice the course of the hurricane, although it will not be as strong as it goes inland because it'll be pulling away from its source of warm water, its circulation after a while, when it gets to about let's say the Okefenokee, then the southeast winds will start coming off the warm waters of the Atlantic. And so therefore this hurricane, once it gets to about a Category 1, it might hang on to just Category 1 conditions, even as it gets along the Carolina coastline, because although it's pulling away from the warm Gulf waters, it's pulling now the juice, the octane off those warm waters in the Atlantic. A lot of you have been asking about the rain, wondering why we're not talking about it. We're going to have downpours. Actually, our biggest concern with most thunderstorms tomorrow will be whether or not they produce isolated tornadoes. But this map is there to show you, as far as rainfall accumulations, the steadier, heavier rains are going to tend to be. So if the motion is like this, so the motion is going to be off to the right. So off to the right is where the tornadoes will be. Off to the left of the motion, that's where the heaviest rains will be. Now that's a little unusual, although it does happen under certain conditions, and this is one of them. So what is going on? Because here's the developing eye, and you see all this rain, but now we're beginning to see the transition here. Remember, through the week we've been talking about how this front was going to be a definer. Think of this front as a wall, and what happens now as this tropical envelope hits that wall, it forces the moisture up. And right along that wall, and this is going to move a little bit, but right along that wall, that's where the heavier rains will be. And that's why, although many of us will have heavy thunderstorms and there's going to be downpours and there'll briefly be some street flooding, that widespread flooding event is going to be where this front sets up. So we're going to watch that very closely. If all you care about are the jumbo shrimp this evening, we have some breaks, so I can't guarantee you they're going to play ball, but I'm not expecting steady rains. But notice we also have some lightning, and of course they'll keep a close watch out for that. What about the storm surge? Remember, most deaths, not all, but most deaths, let's be frank about it, occur from those who do not escape the storm surge, especially when we're talking about a 10 to 15 foot storm surge. And I just wanted to show you the contrast, 10 to 15 feet. The most for us over northeast Florida, 1 to 3, and even less in the St. Johns, 1 to 2. Southeastern Georgia, you're at 2 to 4. We'll keep a close watch on it for you.